Hello, welcome back to Module 4 on the economic valuation of the impacts of climate change in agriculture and natural resource management. We are going to Lecture 2, where we will focus on the costs and benefits of climate change adaptation. The economics of climate change adaptation has some peculiarities or unique attributes that we have to keep in mind. The first is mitigation. To be effective, responding to climate change should combine both mitigation and adaptation. By now we know that mitigation requires global cooperation, while adaptation is more decentralized. In fact, development and adaptation can be one and the same. For example, a country that eradicates malaria to achieve a Millennium Development Goal will also increase its capacity to adapt to the greater possibility of malaria outbreaks resulting from climate change. The third peculiarity is uncertainty. The extent and timing of climate change impacts are highly uncertain on the economy. And so we may ask the following questions. How will climate change affect different groups? How will different groups respond to climate change? What are the costs and benefits of planned adaptation measures? And how will these factors change over time? Next, we have timing, discounting, and equity. For timing, the time frame commonly used is up to 2050, which they refer to as the near term. There is a greater uncertainty of forecasting climate change and its impacts beyond 2050. And most adaptation projects are unlikely to have life beyond 2050. Thus, it is more prudent to use the near term due to the complexity of climate change analysis. Next, let's talk about discounting. Discounting is the process of bringing a future value to its present value. Why do we discount? Basically, it's because we make decisions in the present, and our decisions should be based on present value. The next question is, what discount rate to use? This time preference may be used if costs and benefits will be realized in the near term. However, if project benefits and costs will affect both present and future generations, there will be ethical considerations in choosing the appropriate discount rate. There is also the issue of equity, or intra- and intergenerational concerns, or equity issues within a generation or across generations in the context of discounting, and the aggregation of costs and benefits when project costs and benefits are unevenly distributed within a generation or across generations. So far, you must have noticed the repetitious use of the words cost and benefit. Let's define these terms. Cost is anything that reduces an objective. It is the monetary value of effort, material, resources, time and utilities consumed, risks incurred, and opportunity forgone in the production and delivery of a good or service. On the other hand, a benefit is anything that contributes to an objective. It is a desirable and measurable outcome or result from an action, investment, project, resource, or technology. The House of Lords has this to say about the costs and benefits of climate change mitigation and adaptation. The costs of mitigating or adapting to climate change will be borne by the present generations, but benefits will accrue to future generations. Let's now go a step further and talk about cost-benefit analysis. Economic theory tells us that a rational individual makes decisions by comparing costs and benefits. The purpose of cost-benefit analysis could be to help social decision-making or to facilitate a more efficient allocation of society's resources. It is considered to be the most common method of economic project and policy appraisal. And when we compare projects, we always consider the opportunity cost of an option, which is the benefit of the next best alternative. For example, the opportunity cost of choosing Project A is the net benefit of Project B if B is the next best alternative. Therefore, we will decide to choose Project A if its net benefit exceeds that of Project B. When we do cost-benefit analysis, we may be overwhelmed with the nature and magnitude of the project. And so we may ask, which values should we measure? Actually, it is not necessary to estimate all values associated with an alternative because these can be time-consuming and expensive. It may be all right to evaluate only a few of the more significant foregone benefits to show whether an option is superior or inferior. For example, the loss of environmental functions like watershed protection, microclimate maintenance, or the loss of resources like timber, non-timber forest products, and wildlife. There are two major types of cost-benefit analysis. The first is ex ante CBA, which is conducted while a project or policy is under consideration, that is, before it is implemented. Ex ante CBA helps decide how society's scarce resources should be allocated to projects or policies. It has direct, immediate, and bureau-specific contribution to public policy decision-making. On the other hand, ex post CBA is conducted at the end of the project, and it contributes to learning by government managers, politicians, and academics about the worthiness of projects. Let's now go through the basic steps of cost-benefit analysis, which we can also apply in evaluating adaptation or mitigation projects or programs. First, we specify the set of alternative projects, after which we decide whose benefits and costs count. We then catalog or list and classify the impacts and select the measurement indicators or units of the impacts. These are the impacts that Rodel and Rex discussed in their modules. We then predict the impacts quantitatively over the life of the project. Then we monetize all the impacts and discount benefits and costs to obtain present values. After that, we have to compute the net present value of each alternative and perform sensitivity analysis to see how our indicator NPV will respond to different sets of assumptions. Finally, we make a recommendation based on the NPV and sensitivity analysis. If we cannot use cost-benefit analysis, we also have cost-effectiveness analysis. This involves the examination of the cost and the outcomes of alternative ways of meeting an objective and select the alternative with the highest effectiveness relative to its cost. Jasper Stage writes that in practice, cost-benefit analysis in a broad sense is likely to be the only framework within which it is meaningful to assess climate change policies. We have come to the end of this lecture on the costs and benefits of climate change adaptation. Lecture 3 will be on the economic valuation tools, and it will be discussed in 2 parts. See you!